Hello and welcome back. We are back with a bang. I am here in a little quaint town outside Leeds, and the enthusiasts amongst you might know who lives here. Today I have a cafe ride with two-time Olympic champion Alistair Brownlee, all about triathlons, marathons, racing, and why the endurance industry needed TrueFuels. I guess these triathlon champions have spent their entire career working out how best to fuel performance, but I guess the interesting question is, what happens when they put everything that they've learned into a nutrition brand? Let's go inside for a coffee and a ride. Right, sunglasses, let's go. Ali chose this route so that I had to be out of breath talking to him.
Yeah, we're very lucky here because you can go straight out into this countryside.
Yeah.
It's so good.
So for my Ironman, Copenhagen, that's in just over 7 weeks now, which is very scary. I know how to push my limits on the run, and I want to be able to push on the bike, but I'm like struggling to get my heart rate up at all on the bike. Do you think that is just like, I have to know what it feels like and know I can do it? Or do you have any tips around like specifically improving my bike? Because that is the one I'm going to struggle with. I thought it would be swimming, but we're getting there with swimming.
Swimming is just tough. I never particularly enjoy my swimming. I ride my bike every day or run, and
yeah.
I don't swim at all. So, so yeah, I get that. Cycling, I mean, it's a time thing ultimately, you know. I think
hours on the bike.
Yeah, spend hours doing it. Make sure you're comfortable, as we were talking a bit about earlier. Don't be afraid, especially on your TT bike, to get the Allen key out, to change it to, you know, make it feel right for you.
Yeah.
And yeah, spend time. The bedrock of endurance training is steady, low-level activity.
Zone 2,
I'd say
malarkey.
Yeah, depending on how you classify the zone,
Okay.
but I'd say, I mean, lower zone 2, zone 1, really.
Right.
And just, yeah, spend time pedaling. Try and make your neuromuscular activation as efficient as possible.
Yeah.
Be comfortable on your bike.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, depending on exactly on your kind of strategy, do a bit of race pace kind of effort to be as efficient at that pace as you possibly can be.
We're getting your muscles used to it. I feel like I can climb. This bike ride's actually great for me, but pushing on the flat is so different. But maybe it's different muscles running, like similar to those that I climb with.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Yeah, that's a very normal
thing.
No, it's about, well, it might be as well, but it's also a very normal runner thing. You translate your, for some reason, running kind of technique or muscle activation or fitness or whatever, combination of all of them, quite easily to climbing.
Yeah.
And pushing the same amount of power on the flat is much harder to do.
Yeah.
But that comes with practice. You know, I definitely had that when I started riding my TT bike, when I was focusing more on long distance. I was probably a long way off. You know, the amount of watts I could push on a climb on a road bike compared to the flat, you know, on a 20-minute effort or something.
Yeah.
I would have been over 10% different.
Okay.
Like massive.
That's good to know.
And by, you know, within a couple of years, I was getting pretty close.
So in the last 15 years, how has fueling in the endurance space changed?
It's changed a lot in the last 15 years. I think, you know, if you go back 15, 20 years ago, people obviously knew that combination of carbohydrates, salt, sodium from salt, electrolytes and water were important in endurance sport, but definitely not to the level that we think of today. And yeah, in lots of ways, you know, triathlon was at the forefront of long distance triathlon. You know, Ironman distance was fueling for that, because fueling for 8 hours is such a challenge on the body, because are really pushing through the limits of your stored carbohydrate fuel in terms of your glycogen, and depending on your intensity, kind of maximizing your ability to metabolize fat. So you need to have some kind of external, exogenous carbohydrates. And I'd say the real change over that time is people have realized that by maximizing your carbohydrate intake, you can sustain a higher level of performance over long distance events. And there are two kind of, I think, so a change in perception there, a change in the science when some of the literature came out in about 15 years ago now that started saying there's two different transporter proteins in the gut, and one that does glucose and one that does fructose. And we think that the maximum glucose you can transport is about 60 grams per hour. And if you combine it with fructose, you can double or maybe go more than that for some people. And so the combination of the kind of perception, people trying to push harder for longer, and those proteins, the transporter science being done, I'd say, and really everything's come from there.
What are like the biggest fueling mistakes you made during your time at the top?
How long have we got? Yeah, so I think, as I said, it has changed a lot in my career in terms of how much attention people pay to it and how much people take on. So yeah, number one mistake was not paying enough attention on nutrition generally. And I'd say that I always thought of nutrition in two ways, kind of what I ate generally every day and what I ate during performing. And generally as a 20-year-old, I basically thought what I ate didn't matter. I was doing 40 hours of training most weeks, and honestly, I could live off fish and chips and dairy milk. Yeah, obviously, as I got older and was forced to look after my body more, actually, because injuries and illness and just wear and tear, I really had to increase my focus on everyday nutrition.
Sadly not indestructible.
Yeah, exactly. And then in terms of in sport, in competition nutrition, I mean, it's something that I really only focused on in the last 3 or 4 years in my career properly, I'd say. And that's really where the idea for TrueFuels was born, as I started to do pretty rigorous experimentation on my own carb metabolism, and
your own little guinea pig
in labs, and trying out different things, and did it, and realized that by simplifying what I was taking in, I could take more and stop me having any stomach problems. And really, if I'd understood that 4 or 5 years earlier, I think it would have had a big impact on my career.
How much of a difference do you think maybe taking on more fuel towards the end of your career made a difference? Because I do often think, like, what a stupid reason for a session not to go to plan, like, because you're hungry. And not to get the most out of your body.
Well, absolutely. I see it as nutrition should never be the limiting factor of your ability to train or race. And I'm sure there's times I was a bit underfueled, but in training, but probably actually not that much. The difference I discovered later on was, being able to push kind of maximally through long distance triathlon racing, and it was not the running out of carbs or bonking that would slow me down anymore. I mean, it sounds so obvious when you say it, doesn't it?
A lot of talk about carbs and nutrition at the moment. You hear one end of the spectrum, apparently Casper Stornes won the Ironman World Championships with 180 grams of carbs an hour, something ridiculous. But then at Ironman Lanzarote, Lucy Charles said she only had 60 grams, and I know she wasn't all out racing, she was using it as training. But where do you think optimally, I know it's not one size fits all, but is there a science in how much the human body can physically take on carbs wise?
I mean, there is no published literature that I'm aware of, or even anyone who's tested it, that's found that you can metabolize those levels of exogenous carbs.
What, like 170 grams?
Yeah, I mean, not even that. I mean, I'm not aware of anything really going much above 120.
So you can take on that amount, but you won't be able to utilize it.
That's the theory. But also, we're in a fascinating conversation because, you know, what's happening in elite sport often does run ahead of what people can test and find out in the lab.
Yeah.
So maybe, you know, maybe it is possible with tons of gut training and a high level of maintained output over a long period of time. Your body actually just knows somehow that it needs to absorb that much carbs. I don't know, but the thing I do know that is important for this conversation is that those high level of exogenous carbohydrate is not needed for, you know, not needed for 99.9%.
Not for me doing it at 11-hour Ironman.
Yeah, no, well, literally no one who, unless you really are in the top few of those men trying to maintain that high output over the whole time.
Yeah.
I guess that, you know, even if they wanted to go 5% less power output on the bike, they could get away with significantly less.
Okay.
I would guess.
Because they're riding that red line.
Yeah, because they're so close to it. Yeah, so it is interesting. And that, I mean, my point with, I always try and make when people ask me is, probably start with less rather than more, because once you go more, the chance that it ruins your race due to GI distress goes, you know, really high. So don't risk it. And as long as you know, if you're getting that level, 60 to 80 grams an hour, I mean, you are probably in a really good place in terms of the amount of carbohydrates you're getting in. So I think that's a really good thing. And actually, I think the last thing to say is, you know, in the case of Lucy, because she trains so much aerobic, you know, high volume, relatively training all the time, she will be metabolically very efficient. She'll be pretty, you know, she'll be able to metabolize fat at a relatively high rate, I would have thought, and get away with it. Most amateurs, although they're definitely not doing the outputs that Casper Storms is doing, they also are not metabolically adapted to burn fat at that level either. So that, you know, the standard, I mean, I do it all the time myself now because I don't train like I used to. If I don't train properly for 2 or 3 weeks because I'm busy and traveling, and then I go out of the weekend and go for a ride with my mates, I'm bonking 2 hours in. And whereas when I'm relatively fit, I can ride all day with, you know, no problem at all. And
that's interesting.
Yeah, and I think that is just my ability to metabolize fat at certain intensities. And I presume that, you know, most normal people doing an Ironman are fit, but not that fit. They're balancing it around a work life and actually their need to keep a steady input of carbohydrates coming through their system is quite high. That's interesting then you said, like, you lose it that quickly, like a couple of weeks holiday. But that makes sense. I just thought it was like you kind of get in this flow state when you're training really hard and maybe you become a bit more calloused. But maybe there is science behind it as well. Well, maybe there's not, and it's different for different people. For me, that sense does seem to be one of the first things that goes. I think I can switch it back on pretty fast.
Yeah, I was going to say muscle memory.
But just a sense of how, it's a feeling. Anecdotal evidence, definitely not legitimate evidence.
What has been the closest you've ever been to like wanting to quit in a race?
I actually only pulled out of a very few races in my whole career. I think maybe 2 in, you know, hundreds and hundreds of races. So I hated quitting. But when I actually did go to Kona and I got a puncture and then then got it all wrong with my pacing and screwed my nutrition up. The run, that run was absolute hell on earth getting around that. But there was no way I was going to pull out.
Yeah. Ali, I thought you might be the best person to ask to help me with my fueling strategy for Copenhagen. Let's start at the start. Carb loading, how long before the race do we get going with that?
Well, firstly, would you have carb loaded before a marathon?
Yes, but also since doing triathlon, I'm just eating a higher carb diet anyway. I'm kind of carb loading most days because I'm doing intensity most days. So maybe it would be less important or less a considerable difference, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, carb loading probably does have an impact, but you're going to get the vast majority of the way there if you keep eating your normal diet, and as you ease off over those few days, you know, you build up your glycogen stores maximally. I mean, yeah, if you've got about 1,000 grams of stored glycogen, carbohydrate,
Right.
That's, I mean, probably the maximum. You know, getting 50 grams extra here or there probably isn't going to make the difference. And again, with everything nutrition, you don't want to risk the other side of giving yourself, you know, doing something that you're not used to, feeling lethargic. And so, yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about it. I would just eat a normal diet and rely that as you ease off, you'll maximally replenish your glycogen stores.
Cool, so just fueling well on the day is going to make more difference. What's your go-to breakfast before a race?
Yeah, fueling well on the day is important. Obviously, Ironman start early in the morning, so breakfast is a bit of a challenge.
It actually is going to be like a 3 a.m. wake up.
It's awful. I always had rice pudding, and the reason for I like rice pudding. Easy, you can take it anywhere in a tin.
Yeah, like a tin.
Yeah, and but also rice. I mean, I normally eat porridge, but porridge obviously has quite a high fibre content. Not the kind of thing you want to eat before a race. So play safe and, you know, eat rice.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, got that. I can do that. Microwavable rice. Also a fan. I've been doing a gel before the swim because, well, by the time you're in the pen and I have to watch Joe and all the fast people go off, I've like not eaten for the last 3 hours. Okay, so a gel before the swim. Would you do that?
Yeah, well, so I think you go back a bit further. I mean, I don't know what your stomach's like, but if you can eat something in those, yeah, go on, come in, it's all right.
Oh, thank you. No, that's amazing.
One black.
Yes, please. Thank you.
That's all right.
Thank you very much.
No worries, it's fine.
I'm just worried about like feeling sick the entire Ironman when all my training has just been like nice riding, cafe stops, and it's far more enjoyable.
So yeah, I mean, if you can possibly eat something in between, I mean, I would eat like the rice pudding, I mean, up to an hour before for me.
Okay.
I mean, I personally found no problem with eating and swimming.
Okay. And then I've been practicing with like 90 grams of carbs now on the bike. 90 grams of carbs from chatting to you and Ruth. That sounds, if it works for me, that sounds pretty all right.
Well, if that works for you, great. Again, you know, as we said before, it's super individual.
Yeah.
How much grams per hour do you have in a marathon?
Less than that.
Yeah.
So I was thinking of, loading up on the bike. So when inevitably I feel pretty sick in the marathon, at least, as Ruth said, like I've got some stores.
Yeah. Well, I think, so that gel before the start of the swim is a good one. That 40 grams, we're expecting the swim to take you about an hour 20.
Yeah.
You know, at least you've got some carbs on board. You could then, if you want to, as soon as you get in transition, you could actually take a gel then.
Yeah.
If you feel, some people like that, some people don't.
Yeah, okay.
And then, on the bike, you know, it's very common that most people feel like they can take on more on the bike for obvious reasons. Your stomach's not jostling around, so that definitely works. If I was you, I would, that kind of 90 sounds good. So I would put probably over expecting the bike. Let's say you're expecting a 5-hour bike. We're being optimistic.
I'm very optimistic.
5 times 90 is 350, which I would potentially. As you know, you never get everything out of the bottle, do you? So I would probably either have 9 or 10 gels, so 360 or 400 grams of carbs in that one bottle, and know that you are just going to sip it every 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ended up measuring how much a sip was, which for me was about 25 mils, and from that I knew how much carbs I was taking.
Good.
But yeah, I would put all of those gels in the one bottle on your bike.
3 in a bottle, or like 2.5 in a bottle. Wow.
I put them all in one bottle, top up the rest with water, and then when you're out on the course, only pick up water.
Okay.
And so that means you've only got one bottle you need to sip away out.
Yeah. I'm also worried I'm going to lose a bottle and then I've lost all my fuel.
That is a problem.
I'll have Connor on the side. Oh no, I think you're not allowed.
No, you're not allowed outside assistance. Yeah, that's a very important rule. I would recommend that you strap your bottles in with some kind of elastic.
Okay. Yeah. I'm hoping that extra kilometres an hour is just going to come from like me shaving my legs, me wearing calf socks, wearing an aero helmet.
Definitely helps. And as we said, fast roads. I mean, British roads are so slow compared to fast roads. It should be much quicker. Yeah.
And then in the run, when I really don't want to take on any more fuel, I've got to keep going, haven't I?
Well, yeah, you're expecting probably a 3.5 to 4 hour marathon, aren't you?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a long time to go without fuel. So yeah, you absolutely are going to need to fuel. You're doing the right thing on the bike by kind of maximising your intake then. Again, I quite often took a gel in T1, and then actually I always tried to run out steady in the first bit of gives you time to get moving. You don't need to sprint out of transition and go for it. And again, I mean, if you're looking at 90 on the bike, what's that number on the run? Are you looking at kind of 60 to 80, do you think?
Yeah, 60, probably.
Well, I think if you can consistently get 60 in, I think that probably should be plenty.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, do budget for 4 hours of running. That's 240 grams of carbs total. Six gels in one squeezy bottle that you can just put in a pocket and sip away at.
I'm going to become a TrueFuels gel.
Yeah, but the key is for taking gels on the run is definitely little and often is better.
Okay.
And with water. So I would do it every time I went for an aid station, have a sip of my gel, pick up some water, have some water, and then move on.
Okay. There's so much to think about. But yeah, the fueling is like one thing that I'm in control of. If I get a puncture, I'm kind of screwed, but that's out of my control. I think fueling, I can do that.
Punctures are a little bit not completely out of your control, but new tyres, plenty of sealant in them.
Yeah.
Try and avoid riding into holes.
Okay, I think I've got that. Yeah, I think I've got this. And TrueFuels also have some electrolytes in. They've got some sodium in.
TrueFuels gels have electrolytes in them. I mean, I don't think you ever need to take carbs and not take sodium with you, because if you're going hard enough to need carbs, you're almost certainly sweating and needing some amount of sodium. We have 2 of them with the 0.25 that you got here and the 0.1 grams, depending on A, how hot it is, and B, how much sodium salt you need. Yeah,
so I've actually got less. I was advised this one because I sweat less. And I think that brings me nicely onto core control, which I'm going to trial in the next few weeks ahead of Copenhagen, because I think it could be really valuable for me. Because I'm not much of a heavy sweater, I think by sweating more, I could be better adapted to the heat. And this is a pretty innovative product from TrueFuels. So I'd love you to talk a little bit more about that.
It's super innovative. Very nicely displayed. So firstly, TrueFuels is very innovative. You take it for 8 days or 8 doses. If you weigh less than 60 kilos, you spread it out. So you do 2 days on, 1 day off, with the last dose the morning before the race. Completely, you're doing the right thing to try it in the weeks before. Don't try it for the first time in the week before the race. Never do that. It's the number 1 bit of advice.
Maybe I'll do it for the tap.
Yeah, do it for the tap.
Yeah, mountains.
Yeah, and but what it does is it builds up over your time, and it makes your body's own cooling systems more efficient.
Yeah.
And it does that in a number of ways. And as you said, one of those ways is increasing sweat rate. Well, what we don't know is exactly as you said, someone who's already got a low sweat rate, does it proportionally increase their sweat rate more and therefore help cooling? And it sounds like, it makes intuitive sense that, if you start from a low sweat rate and it gives you proportionally a higher sweat rate, gives you a proportionally higher benefit. But that's something we don't know yet, and it's definitely worth a try. When people ask me about it is, if you're thinking it could be hot conditions and heat could be a limiting factor, take it. There aren't really downsides to taking it. Give it a go.
Other than the fact I'll just be like dripping with sweat in all the pictures.
Yeah. You're going to be doing that anyway. You're doing an Ironman.